Welcome to Freezer Milk Podcast. I'm your host, Bridget, along with my husband, Chris. Podcast where we talk about the comedic side and serious side of parenting, life, and relationships. We are boy parents. We have two boys, Enzo and Rhett, with about a 6-year age gap between the two. You can check out our website, freezermilk.com. Also, feel free to follow us on Instagram at Freezer Milk Podcast. Thanks and hope you enjoy.
Like I heard him over there giving you a hard time this morning, and I could just hear you like, "Fuck, stop!" I'm like, "All right, I'll get up. It's fucking 5 o'clock." I just lost him.
Tell the story about what happened this morning.
Oh yeah, because we've got a routine where since Bridget is breastfeeding at night, I get up with the baby in the morning because he has a set schedule where he gets up at 4:50 to 5 a.m. every day. He doesn't let us sleep in.
It doesn't matter what time he goes to bed either.
No, it doesn't. We go later, we go earlier. It doesn't matter. He's up. And I heard him fussing with her, and she's getting mad. And I'm like, all right, fine. I guess I'll get up. It's like 5 o'clock. So I bring him out. I forget his clothes in the bedroom. I didn't want to go back in the bedroom because I didn't want to take a chance of waking Bridget up. So I change his diaper, and I leave him just in a diaper, and that's the first time I've really ever done that. I don't normally leave him with clothes off. So I changed his diaper from the night and put him in a new diaper. I went to the bathroom myself, and I came back out, and he had removed his diaper, and he shit on the floor. Mind you, it's like 5:10 a.m. Sunday morning, and I've probably slept like 4.5 hours. I was pretty much beside myself. At that point,
were you just seeing red?
Oh yeah, I was cussing your name and just why'd I do this, etc. So I got him all cleaned up, put a diaper back on him, and he starts peeling at the diaper again like he's gonna pull it off. And I yelled at him, and he just looked at me and like just started crying. I'm like, oh my god, I am a horrible person. In those moments, I felt just the worst parent ever.
So, note to self: don't let Rhett only be in a diaper because he is the baby that will pull the diaper off.
And
You know, some parents like duct tape the diaper on their kid.
That's crazy.
Like,
I might have to. I don't know. No, I just note to self: never let him be just in a diaper.
Yeah.
I can't. There's no way. I don't know.
So then he was crying a lot, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's terrified. Like there was one thing that always used to scare me about my dad. When he would yell at you, and it was a deep, booming yell, and it was very, it's one thing that I always promised myself I would never do to my kids, and guess what? I do it to my kids. It's unbelievable. Now I understand the struggles that he went through when I was young.
So then I come out at 7.
Yeah, Bridget comes out. I'm sitting on the couch. He's been fighting me. He's been upset. He's teething, so he's crying. He's got diaper rash. He shit on the floor.
He got shots.
So he has a bruise and a welt on his leg. Just not the ideal morning. Bridget comes out after sleeping in till 7, well rested and bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and she goes, "Did you give him a bath?"
That was not my tone of voice.
That's what it came across to me.
So, in reality, I said, "Hey, did you give him a bath this morning?" Because we talked about yesterday that we were going to give him a bath last night, because right now we're driving up north, and we didn't get a chance to give him a bath yesterday. So, I come out and I'm like, "Hey, did you give him a bath this morning?" That's how I said it. That's not how he took it.
Meanwhile, the baby's kicking and trying to get away from me, and he wants mom, and just, I've been dealing with this for 2 hours. All I feel is like this hot rush from my toes, up through my legs, through my torso, down my arms, into my head, and I saw red.
Just pure rage.
I was so upset. So my response is, no, I did not, but you're more than welcome to give him a bath. She didn't take too kindly to that. Meanwhile, I haven't had any coffee. I haven't eaten. I'm extremely upset. So I got up and I was like, you know what, I'm going to get coffee. So I got in the truck.
You were gone forever, too.
No, I drove to Starbucks. I had to clear my head a little bit. It was tough, man. Mornings are tough. And,
I used to What did we realize that you... So what triggers you about when I asked about the bath?
That you didn't say good morning first? That you just... it almost came off like demanding that, the way... that you didn't necessarily intend for that to happen, but...
Why is it a touchy subject for you? Or touchy...
I think it goes back to my mom.
Approach.
Because my mom was always she wasn't the type of person that was I don't know, I believe that there's a way of going about saying things to people or asking people, asking for different things from people. And to start a conversation by what I thought was demanding that I do something after I had been packing for the last 2 days trying to get us ready for a trip didn't sit well with me. So I think that was probably the deciding factor for me, that I was a little mad, but...
Just a little bit.
It's tough, man. I mean, I always told myself that I wasn't going to be like my parents, but more and more I try to parent, more and more I'm like them, and I understand why they were the way they were, because parenting is not easy.
Well, it's like we were talking about this morning. We struggle right now with the phase that Enzo's at, because Enzo is very, very smart, and so he doesn't act like a typical, 6, almost 7-year-old. So we have a higher expectation of his behavior.
Right. I was like, probably a good example of that is, we're packing for this trip because we're going away for a little while, and, I expect him to be useful, and over the past couple of days, he's just caused more problems and gotten in the way, and it's just been really, really irritating, and I'm like, I don't know if this is a direct reflection of my parenting style or what, but, a lot of times Enzo can be very annoying, and, but this has been extra, and it's been really hard for me to deal with. I'm just like, why can't you help me get ready for all this instead of being in the way? And I feel so bad for thinking like that. I feel so guilty because I'm so annoyed by him a lot right now.
And we know it's a phase, but it is a long phase.
It is. This has been one of the more, we've gone through so many different phases with Enzo. Being younger, from being in public places to freaking out and throwing a tantrum, or not, being able to, clearing his plate at a taco place and mom throwing away his plate and him freaking out because he couldn't throw away the plate. I literally had to pick him up and take him out and put him in the car and try and get him into a car seat while he's freaking out, and everybody's looking at us like, what is going on?
How many of you with 3-year-olds remember the I want to do it phase?
And now I'm like, well, where's that mentality now? Because now he wants me to do everything for him, and I'm like, I don't want to do everything for you. I got to do a lot of things for the baby and for myself and for mom and for other people. It's time. It's time for you to start contributing a little bit. Man, it's tough.
But then we have, our moments where we're so proud of him. So, this week, we got his report card for the second quarter. So, for the entire first half of kindergarten, he's gotten straight A's and, high A's. He is averaging a 98 in math and a 96 in language arts.
And he's in gifted classes.
The kid is just crushing it.
Yeah.
And so we have our moments where we're so proud of him, or we have our moments where our mama bear and papa bear come out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talk about what he was telling us about the playground.
Oh, yeah. He was telling us the other day that he had a couple kids come up to him. More or less, they bullied him, and one of them was kind of not necessarily restraining him, but the other one was trying to kick him in his privates and stuff like that. And it's every fiber of your being just wants to go to that school and confront these kids, because I feel like a lot of the times, a lot of that stuff gets overlooked, and these kids, even if they take it to the teachers don't do anything about it. But we were sitting there discussing it last night. We're like, look, how do we do this? Obviously, he needs to let his teachers know when it's happening, but how can we help him to kind of overcome it? And we don't want it to cause confidence issues, or, because there's so many different things that can happen with kids mentally as they're developing. That's a real fear for us. So we were like, maybe we could put him in a martial arts, not necessarily to just defend himself. That's not what we're looking at, but to help with building confidence and put him in the right mindset on how to deter these kids or redirect these kids from doing this in the future. And then if he has to defend himself, at least he'll have the skills to be able to.
I think it's hard too, is that it's been more recently, a couple of times he's talked about different kids at school, and there's a couple names that come up, more frequently than other ones, but, a kid apparently, tried to slap him across the face, and, Enzo started crying, and a teacher saw it and, told him to stay away from the other kid, but it's, it, hurts, as annoyed as we can be with him, and as frustrated as we can be with him, when you hear stuff like that, it hurts you in your heart as a parent, because you just get that ultra protective side that comes out that's absolutely not, someone's not doing this to my child, this is not okay, or we had a conversation, I guess. Kids at school tell Enzo that he's weird, or they call him weird. And he gets really, like, frustrated by that or mad about it. So him and I were talking about, well, I said, first off, there's nothing wrong with being weird. Like, we're all weird, and the best people in the world are weird. They're unique, they're different. I said, but another thing is that you are very, very intelligent for a kid your age. And so that can be weird to a lot of kids because they don't understand the same stuff that you understand. These are like those tougher moments that it's hard to figure out, like, what do you say and how do you help your kid through this? And, you know, it's uncharted territory for us because it's new, because he hasn't been, his kindergarten, he was all virtual. So he didn't have kids that he was around that were potentially being kind of mean to him. And it wasn't really a thing when he was, you know, in preschool when he was like 3 and 4. So it's new and it's tough.
Yeah, for sure. I would agree. It's, you know, for my opinion, you know, I got bullied in school, and I'm sure, Bridget, you probably did too. I think everybody gets some sort of bullying, and it's very unfair. It's very, very degrading, and it can make you feel very insecure. And I feel that if we can figure out a way to help a kid that is being bullied kind of circumnavigate that and not feel so down about it and understand that this is the way kids are and they can be mean, but it shouldn't reflect negatively on yourself and the way you view yourself. You know, I get frustrated because I'm the only one that should be able to, you know, say that he can be annoying or he can be weird, not some other kids telling him that, you know, telling him this, because it's not fair.
I think it's tough. So you wanted to know something that I was bullied about in 2nd grade that has stuck with me to this day. So when I was in 2nd grade, like I'm Irish and I look kind of, I don't know if I look maybe tiny bit Italian. Like, yeah. I have darker complexion, I have darker hair, you know, etc. But when I was in 2nd grade, this kid looked at me, I had like a short sleeve shirt on, and was like, "Your arms are really hairy. Like, you look like a werewolf." And I like legit started crying because it was so, I took it as so mean. Like, it wasn't a cool thing for someone to say to me, you know? No. And it made me really self-conscious about the fact that I have darker hair on my arms. What do I do to this day? Shave my arms. Yeah. To this day. Like, I have a full tattoo sleeve on one arm, and my other arm I don't have a sleeve on. And I, to this day, shave my arms because it is, like, ingrained in my subconscious to feel insecure about the fact that I have dark arm hair.
Little did she know she was going to marry an actual werewolf.
But isn't that funny? Like, someone said that in 2nd grade, and that stuck with me. And, like, I'm in my 30s now, and it's still something that, like, on a subconscious level.
Yeah, I mean, I used to get bullied because I've always, since, you know, a young age, I've always been a bigger kid. You know, I've always been tall, and I've always been heavier, and I've always, you know, like Bridget likes to say, I look like a football player. But a lot of times that works against you because there's kids out there that are mean and they just want to be jerks and they just want to call, you know, say things about you. And I just remember how, you know, I used to get in so many fights, and it's not something I want for my kids. I don't want them to feel like they have to resort to fighting somebody because somebody's making fun of them and embarrassing them in front of other people. That's not fair. That's not the way it should be. And I think that's where Bridget handles these situations a little bit better than me. I still struggle with that, but I think that's just human nature too. It's a fight or flight response. And
well, it's like with the kids calling Enzo weird. What did I tell him to say?
Yeah, you know, and I was actually that's not even the first thing I thought about when, you know, I was thinking completely different. But I'm glad, you know, I'm grateful for Bridget because in that moment she was like, you know what, you need to just own it and tell them, you know, you need to kick it back in their face and take their power away from them and tell them, well, thank you. I appreciate that. I think so, too. And I'm like, wow. You know, that's probably something that would work because kids would be like, well, whoa, what happened? Why? This was supposed to be meant as an insult. I was trying to hurt you, but you are completely okay with it and you're owning it. I don't really know what to do with that.
And they'll probably leave him alone.
That's not where I went with it naturally because, again, I handled things a lot differently, and I'm grateful for Bridget because I'd rather them learn from her than me in those instances.
I would love to be able to like teach our kids to like use like quips or comebacks, but like comebacks that aren't hurtful to the person that said something.
Otherwise, you're just doing what they're doing to you.
Yeah, But, like, a comeback like that, like, just take their power. Completely deflate the situation.
And I think that's great. I mean, I hope that, he has the courage to do that and stand up for himself. Still doesn't mean I don't want him to be in some kind of martial arts. Not from not necessarily from a self-defense aspect, but confidence building and, team building and, kind of trying to derail those situations and kind of just accept it for what it is, but don't take it any further than it needs to go.
Yeah.
And not have serious mental repercussion from it, and, after that situation is taken place.
Speaking of football player, didn't you tell somebody when you were traveling?
Oh, yeah. Again, I'm a bigger guy, so...
You're what, 6'3"?
6'2", but...
You got, like, broad shoulders.
Yeah, I'm a very wide body person. I've got a pretty wide frame, so I get the comment all the time, you play football, your arms are huge, you're a big guy, da-da-da-da-da, but I travel a lot for work, and I was on an airplane. Anybody that's flown coach that's bigger, you understand that the seats aren't exactly...
They're not made for broad-shouldered guys.
They're not made for wide people, let's just say that. Every time I sit down, I'm wide enough that I look like I should take up 2 seats. But I had a guy sit in the middle. I was sitting on the aisle seat. He came in, and I was like, hey, man, I'm sorry, I'm a lineman for the Cardinals. He looked at me, he's like, really? And I'm like, yeah, man, practice squad. Sorry about my size. It was funny, though. But, I mean, it's kind of stuff that you kind of have to do, because, again, I don't know.
You used to get offended when people asked you if you were a football player.
Yeah, because I always took it as, like, I don't know, because I'm heavier. I'm a bigger guy. I've always been bigger. I don't know. I think that I always felt like somebody was calling me fat. Or...
No, and I think it took me explaining to you, like...
Why people... Yeah, it took...
You look like you have shoulder pads on. Like,
yeah.
You have broad shoulders.
And I have big arms.
You have big arms,
I used
big
to...
calves. Like,
yeah, I used to work out. I used to work out a lot. I mean, I've gotten a lot softer in the midsection over the last year, but, that's with, that comes with the territory of having a baby.
Like, you're well proportioned for your height.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just a bigger guy. I've always been a bigger guy. So when people would ask me, hey, man, you're a big dude. You play football? And I'm like, I always took offense to it because I always thought somebody was telling me that I was, like, fat or something like that. And, that can be hurtful. I mean, but I think that was a lot of me being insecure. And now I take it as, yeah, I play fucking football. Sure.
I'll never see you again. It's fine.
Yeah. So.
You had a huge debacle on your last trip that you had to take for work on your flight return. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's traveling around Christmas time, though. I don't like doing it, and I try not to do it, but, I was flying first class out to Florida, or business class, and flights there were fine. Naturally, there's no connecting flights, but my flights there were fine. My flights out were not, and getting stuck in an area in Florida that, it's difficult to get flights out.
You don't do great with kind of stress.
I don't like flying very much. I don't enjoy it.
You don't like change and fluster?
I don't like being flustered at the airport because a lot of times I just want to get home, especially on my flight home. It's one thing on my flights out to places. I don't necessarily care.
Stuck in Denver.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like every time I don't know if
home?
I fly home. It's bad. I don't know if it's like luck or whatever you want to call it, but I feel like I'm constantly, my flights are getting delayed. They're changing. I'm getting stuck in the airport for hours on end.
Security lines are stupid long.
Security lines are ridiculously long. It's just, I feel like it's one thing after another when I travel. And this last go around really got to me. Because, again, I was trying to get out of Florida, but my flight was delayed, so my connecting flight I wasn't going to make. So, luckily, the airliner was trying to work with me to try to figure out how to get me out, but they had me routed, like, to 5 different places, and then the flight, and then so we set me up on this. I was supposed to fly out of Florida to St. Louis, then St. Louis. No, I was supposed to be flying to Miami to St. Louis, back home, so they had me all set up that I was good to go. And then my flight out of Florida was delayed by 30 minutes. Well, all these connecting flights were within an hour of each other, so naturally that screwed up every single one of my flights. Not to mention these are business class seats, which any return flight home ended up being coach, which ended up prompting me to say what I said to this guy that asked, looked at me like, oh, this sucks, this is going to be a long plane ride. I don't know, it's very frustrating and to get stuck in airports, and I don't...
You and I think you were telling your mom about it the other day. you and I have a really good balance of what we each kind of bring, or like what part of the relationship and our family dynamic that we each like manage really well.
Absolutely. You have your strengths, and I have my strengths, and I think we complement each other very well.
I'm definitely like behind the scenes.
Yeah, like if you in that instance, and I called you immediately. I was like, Bridget, figure this out because I'm going to lose it. Like, and anytime I have issues at the airport, I call Bridget, and I'm like, again, it sounds like, I can't fend for myself, but that's not the case. I just get so flustered trying to run through airports, trying to figure stuff out, that I'm like, Bridget, you're good at this. Take care of this, please. And that's basically what happened, and she made it work. And she got me home. Granted, I didn't get my business class, and I ended up in coach, and got to have a little bit of a conversation with a gentleman about being a football player. But
but I think that's like, it's part of what makes our family dynamic work so well, is that, like I do all of the behind the scenes stuff.
Absolutely. And I do a lot of the day to day.
Like, it's, everything kind of runs seamlessly from behind the scenes standpoint, unless it's like a random flight that doesn't. But I get really flustered in some of the day-to-day stuff. Like, where were we? We took Enzo and Rhett to go do a picture with Santa.
Yeah.
And you saw me get super flustered.
Yep.
It was at the mall. It was not even crowded. There was like almost nobody there.
No.
But Enzo kept standing like right behind me when I was trying to check out, and so I didn't have my field of vision, and I started being super, super frustrated and like freaked out and anxious.
Yeah, and what she doesn't realize is I've got eyes on him at all times. She just doesn't realize it.
I just was like, oh my gosh, go stand over there.
I've done this enough with her to understand where she struggles and where her concerns are, and where her
like
anxieties lie. And when it comes to Enzo, because I think it all comes down to that library situation you had.
It does, 100%.
Where she thought she had lost him in the library in a public, a very public setting, and so ever since then she's just been very.
I need to have you in my eyesight.
Yeah, exactly. And it's hard, to have your child in your eyesight at all times when you're trying to do something like that. So, but I've made it a point to make sure that when we are in situations like that I got eyes on him at all times while she's trying to do what she needs to do. But naturally, as a mother, I don't know that it's that she doesn't accept that or what, but she just still has to have her eyes, on him at all times.
I think it is like, I don't know if we've told the library story yet. I don't think we have. Did we?
No, why don't you tell them about the library?
So, and sorry for the background noise, we're driving right now on our road trip. The Enzo was probably, 3.5, maybe? And Enzo and I used to go to the library all the time, and the library had like a basement level, and then a street level, and then a second level. And the basement level is where the kids section was. It's smart on their part, like keep it all in a secure area, basically. So the kids section was down in the basement level. And then the street level, it just had automatic doors, and there's a bunch of homeless people that hang out outside this library because they can go in and use the restrooms, etc. It's a public library, but it's also on a very busy street corner, and it's pretty close to the actual main road, the front doors. So I'm down in the basement level with Enzo, and we got probably 18 books, and I go and I'm checking him out, and I can see him over in the corner of my eye playing on this little playground area that says reading or something, and the A is a tunnel that you can go through, and he goes to the tunnel and he doesn't come back around, and I notice it pretty immediately, and I'm still checking out, and I call his name Enzo, and nothing. I've not moved so quick in my entire life. I literally left the fucking book sitting there. I whip around the other side of this display that has the A tunnel, and he is not over there, and instantly sheer panic starts kicking in, and I'm immediately start running around the hallways down there, opening up conference doors, opening up the bathrooms, calling his name. Meanwhile, through my head I'm going, do I have a picture of him from today? Can I describe his outfit? What is he wearing? Because I'm 100% thinking we're going to have to call the cops, and this is going to be a missing child scenario. Because somebody either kidnapped my child, or my child ran away, or my child ran out to the street and got hit by a car and is dead. And how am I going to call his dad and tell him? This is all running through my head. I search the entire lower level in the area we were in. I know he didn't go back by the books because he would have had to gone past me. I don't see this kid anywhere. So at this point, I'm crying as I'm running around this library. I, bolt up the stairs, and I start to go towards the door out to the street because the, security desk is right there, and I'm about to tell them, hey, we have a code, whatever, lock the library down. I can't find my kid. And I look over, and there's, a little display sign by the front door. And there's Enzo, crouched down on the ground, looking at me, smiling, and goes, "You found me!" And I'm like, So apparently my child thought we were playing hide and seek in a public setting and didn't tell me. And more importantly, my 3-year-old went all the way upstairs by himself. Literally almost walked out the doors of this building. I walked over, I just grabbed him, did not get any of the books, picked him up, carried him outside, sobbing hysterically. My anxiety, adrenaline was through the roof at this point. And so I was like, what's wrong? And I'm just like, nope, never go to the library again. Never playing hide and seek in public. Like, these are things that are not going to happen.
I don't think we've played hide and seek ever since.
Probably not.
So we trained that out of him real quickly. No more hide and seek, we're done.
We're done. We're good. But I got to the car and I called you and I was just hysterical. Because it was, like, in reality, it was probably legitimately 3 to 4 minutes of me not knowing where Enzo was, which is incredibly long amount of time.
I remember you saying that to me when you called me. You're like, I think really it was like 3 or, maybe 5 minutes max, but it felt like an hour.
Yeah. And 5 minutes is, like, as a parent, like, if you have ever lost eyes on your kid or not been able to locate them in a public setting.
Is 5 minutes too long, for sure.
5 minutes is enough time for your kid to go out and step into traffic and get hit by a car or get kidnapped by somebody or wander off and get lost, like, for good. Like, just terrifying. And I'm sure, like, other parents also probably that have, lost track of their kid for a moment or two have probably also been like, what are they wearing? Do I have a picture of today? What's the most recent photo? Can I describe their outfit? Like, all the police stuff starts to kick in. What identifying body marks do they have?
And that just reminds me how bad of a parent I really am, because I honestly couldn't tell you what Enzo's wearing right now. He's sitting in the back seat, so...
I bet you could, because you laid it out on his desk.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
But, man, it's... Whew. So because of that, I get anxiety, like it's the library situation, and it's also having, like, the joint custody situation.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think your senses are heightened even more because of that.
Right, because I could not imagine making that phone call to his dad. Like, that was one of the things I was thinking of in the library when I was trying to find Enzo, was I have to call his dad and say I lost his kid. Like, I lost our son. And if we find him, his dad's going to push to get full custody because he's going to say I'm irresponsible.
Yep,
like,
absolutely.
This is the horror that is a possibility that could happen. In addition to the fact that, like, I might have lost my kid if I find him, and the police got involved, he could push and take my kid away from me. So I could tell, like, when we were at the photos for Santa, like, I started getting really anxious, and my head started being like a fucking swivel, where I just kept, like, going back and forth, like, I can't see him, he's behind me, I don't like it, he's in my blind spot. Like, I don't know where he is.
Yeah, that's something that you've always kind of talked about with me. You're like, he's not getting hurt on our watch, kind of deal. And it's true. I mean, after you go through a separation like that, both parents are in the same boat. They're like, you know what? Now we really have to be careful because, heaven forbid something bad happen, and, our responsibility to make sure this kid's all right. It's always something you've struggled with.
Yeah, I helicopter really hard at playgrounds, too.
Yes, you do. You've always been a helicopter parent.
Yeah. So. Some of these playgrounds, man, they're so crowded, and, like, we live in Arizona. Like, human trafficking is very, very real out here. And we're very, very close to the border.
Well, even more so, child trafficking.
Yes. So. And we're very close to the border. Like, it would be very easy. And it happens all the time. But some people get such a false sense of security at the playground. And they're so far away from their kid. And they're not paying attention. And nope, that's not me. I am like, oh, you're climbing along this, apparatus that's 10 feet off the ground?
Yeah, I'm always impressed with you because you're actually, like, right there with him, climbing with him. And I'm like, oh, my God.
Not even climbing, but just, like, walking under it.
There's this middle-aged female adult, like, following her son through the jungle gym. Like, man, gives you a whole new appreciation.
I'm just like, I'm not, like, when we go to the playground, especially now we have 2 kids, I almost never go without you, because managing 2 kids, like, I can't give the level of attention I feel like I need to the one on the playground. But then, like, B, if we are both there, like, I assign one of us each of the kids. Yep. I'm like, I got baby, go follow Enzo, or you got baby, I'll go follow Enzo. You just never know. Yeah, it's terrifying.
Man, I don't know. Anybody out here needs to hear this. Parenting is really tough, and you're going to have your ups and downs, and you're going to feel like a horrible parent every day. Take the small wins, like Enzo getting straight A's, and run with those, and make sure that you lock those in a vault, and every time you feel like you're a horrible parent, remember those grades, because even if it's, that's huge for kindergarten, and
first grade,
and, you're going to need every one of those wins. to get through all of the losses that you have.
Well, it's like we were talking with somebody, we went to a Christmas party yesterday, and we were talking with a mom there, and their child's 3.5, and she was saying, like, it's a struggle, you know? And she was saying that, like, she feels really frustrated sometimes, or, you know, whatnot, and we just kind of shared our experiences with her.
I think so many parents feel alone.
And that's what she said. She was like, it's so nice to not
even if it's
alone.
a complete family and everybody, there's 2 parents involved, and parents feel alone a lot of the time.
What did she say? She said on social, she was like, it's so nice to hear that, like, other parents feel this way, because we explained kind of, we have a podcast about parenting, like real life stories and the struggles. And she said it's so nice to see and hear other people feel this way, because she's like, I see on, like, social media, like, everyone just seems so happy.
It's like the perfect family, you know. It's
a highlight reel.
It really is, and it's good to know that there's other people out there that are going through the same stuff.
Well, I think we are going to get back to paying attention to our road trip, and there's some music on, and relax. We wish everybody a great holiday, and hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Later, guys.
Thanks, everybody, for listening. You can check us out at
freezermilk.com
or Instagram.
Freezer Milk Podcast.
Until next week, guys. Thanks.
Don't forget, parenting is a trip. We are all here on the journey with you together. Thanks so much for listening.